What's up, everybody? This is Black Guy Senpai here, and today I'm going to be doing a deck profile and a tournament report for No Limit Gaming's 1K tournament that I participated in yesterday with my friends from my locals. So if you remember me, hello. So now we're gonna go over some of my matches that I had. Round one, I'm reading this off of the notes that I took. Round one, I lost. Went up against Harry. Game one, he dusted me because for some reason, it didn't click in my head. Like, oh yeah, it's Harry. Okay, I'm in control of most of this match. If he hasn't dusted me by now, that's fine. I forgot that he was going to use dust, so I was just like, all right, whatever. He dusted me to 5, and then like he just started his multi attacks, and I was like, okay, no, we don't like this. Game two, I took control, just kept aggro. I had the hand to keep up the aggro, and then just take his hand and Rin to win. But then game three came along, and like my hand wasn't as beautiful as the second time, and I wasn't getting so many things, despite my build, which you guys will see soon. So then he dusted me again because he sensed that because I pushed him to 5 again, and which is a no-no against Harry players. Do not give them more than 2 counterblasts a turn. If you give them more than 2 counterblasts a turn and you're not going to win, don't do it if you can avoid it. Round two, it was against Luard. I won. It was against a newer player, but he had a really good build. And he just came from Yu-Gi-Oh! So, hey dude, what's up if you're watching this video? But yeah, he's just a newer player. He started playing for a couple weeks, and that was pretty much it. I coached him through his games and helped him learn how to play Vanguard because he tried to intercept with grade zeros from the back row. So yeah. Round three, I faced against Gradora. Game one, we both were grade stuck, so that was fun at grade two. Unfortunately for me, I was on a 10k vanilla, and I called out a 10k vanilla, but he had some grade 2 that didn't let me stand my rear guard columns. So when I finally got to ride to grade 3, I just started dominating his stuff and killing it. Game 2, he again was grade stuck. And then I ended up sea breezing him, and he was at 3 damage. And he was like, oh man, you know what, I want this to be over. So I was like, all right, drive check, crit, drive check, crit, drive check, grade 2. He was like, I didn't mean that fast. So yeah, definitely won that one. Round 4. First of the matchups that actually like took a while. I fought against Gears. Game 1, he rushed the absolute piss out of me. And when I tell you he rushed me, oh god, like this guy was like so good at this. I don't remember his name. I just remember he had a red shirt with some goggles on. He he basically killed me after the first stride because I had nothing in hand to block. He went into Avenir Phoenix and just destroyed me. He destroyed my board because I went first. Oh yeah, interesting thing about No Limit Gaming. They do random for game one, which is fine, and then you have to do that before you like draw your cards and check. Then game two, you can decide post mulligan who you want to go first. Well, loser decides. And then game three, it's more of the same. So that was cool. Anyway, so since I lost game one, I went second game two. Still, he just stuck to the same strategy, and like thanks to I think a draw trigger and a crit trigger, like he couldn't hit. And then I dominated. I dominated one of his two perfect guards that he put in the front row to attack. So I took the Vanguard hit. I got pushed to 5, and then he called a perfect guard off of Avenir Phoenix. I dominated that unit. Or I dominated the other perfect guard that he was going to use to swing at me, which had a crit on it, by the way, to block the first one attacking, if that makes any sense. And then after that, Shiranui Oboro, I strode, dominated with Ren with a 25k Chronojet Z, which was really, really nice. And that ended up in me buying a SP Shiranui Oboro because, in my opinion, like I was stuck on him because I was grade stuck as well that game too. I was stuck on him, and then I ended up having to just deal with that, and like he squeaked out that win. Game three, though, I got like the perfect stuff: 8K vanilla, 10K vanilla, Zanki, Sadasuge, Tamahagane Metsu, all that stuff. Like I just got into them, and it was just nice. Round five. After my very long, hard-fought battle with Chrono Jet Z, another one. Yay! But this one was actually a good match. It was more back and forth than anything else. Like game one, I just was like, all right, forget it. Whatever's in my hand, go and hand the board. Boom. That's what I did. Pushed him to 3 when I did that. At the end of my second turn, and then when I rode the 3, he was like no guard. Crit. He was like, okay. So game two, he decided to go ahead and use rush as well. He rushed me back, and then I ended up surviving off of a 5th damage shield trigger. And then he, then like after that, I think I went into Ren. He lived. I went into Ren again. He lived because he had like he drew all his G guards. He didn't get any heal triggers. Well, he didn't proc them anyway. He didn't settle. He didn't resolve any of them. So then I ended up going into Murkrow, and this because the turn before he was going into Gear Next. Oh my god, he went into Gear Next. He used his Stride skill. Didn't know that he only had 1 soul, and then he went to go activate Gear Next, and he's like, oh crap. So then I survived that turn, dominate one of his other units that he called to attack, and then my last turn I go into Murkrow, and like I'm like, okay, I've never been this far. I don't have a copy of Shiranui Zanki in my hand, so I can't ultimate stride. What can I do? Alright, this is what I can do. I went into Murkrow, dominated his Vanguard, killed all his rear guards, drove 2 crits. That was my miss. Like I put the power on the rear guards and put the crits on the Vanguard because he only had 4 cards in hand. I'm like, all right, this is fine. I'll be fine with this. Swing with my Vanguard, 26 with 2 crits, perfect guard. Crap. All right, cool. Drive check a draw. Put it on my rear guard Morishige, which is 26, and then I drove check a heal. Excuse me. And then I put it on my rear guard Sadasuge. So both columns were 21 and 26. Neither of them had a crit. Swung with Sadasuge because I was like, oh god, I don't want to deal with this. He only has 2 cards in hand. I can deal with this. He's at 4 damage. He's gonna live this turn. Hit him. He blocks it. He perfect guards that. Swing with Morishige. He takes that. Goes to 5. He has 1 counterblast open. Then he decides to go into Heritage. I was like, you know what? I don't have enough hand for this. Scoop it up. Game 3. Game 3. I go like fast forward, just aggro him again. This time at the end of turn 3, he's at 4. I go on to Ren. I rip out a bunch of cards out of his hand. I rip out 3 cards out of his hand, and then like I G-guarded the turn before I went into Ren because he went second, and then I dominated 2 more cards out of his rear guard. He had nothing else to guard with. He had to take it. Round 6, I fought Darkness. Darkness, he decked himself out because he used the wrong G-guard and ended up with 1 card left in his deck at the end of my attacking phases, so that way when he draw, he loses. So he just scooped it up. And game 2, I just rushed him down. I critted him. I'm not ashamed of it. Because I was like, Darkness was pretty much... Darkness and the Mirror were the 2 things that I was most worried about because I haven't practiced against those that much. So then I critted him out, and I won. That was the end of round 6. After that, I went get some Subway, which I think is the part that messed me up a little bit. And then round 7, I fought the Mirror. Eshmel, I think that was his name. The guy's been playing Vanguard for 3 weeks. He was X11. He had one tie, one loss, and 5 wins. So I'm like, all right. He fought against my teammate earlier. He beat my teammate in the mirror. So I'm like, I have some decent mirror experience. I can do this. Yeah. And then my hand decided to be like, all right, listen, opening hand, we're going to give you a Perfect Guard, Mist Frog, and then the rest Shiranuis. I'm like, oh no. So then I draw into a grade 2. I'm like, okay, cool, we're good. We don't have to G assist. What are we gonna do about all these threes? At least we could stride. Um, and on top of that, I had to go first. And he's just like getting all the great stuff. And like this guy is like really, really good. He thought out all of his turns. Very smart player, very intelligent. Um, if you guys can't tell, I lost this round. But like he went into Magen Tenbu first instead of striding into Zanki, and then he killed one of my rear guards that he brought back from the drop. I don't remember which one it was, but anyway. So then he ended up just beating me. He didn't crit me out. It was just like I didn't have the resources to actually play. And then game 2, more of the same, except I legit had to G assist to grade 2, which sucked. But I'm not angry or sad or mad or anything like that. I'm actually proud of it. I think overall, going X2 out of 7 rounds at a 83-person tournament where Brandon Smith was there, Robbie Cole was there, Robbie Cole's crew was there. What up, Clawcast 2.0? Like a lot of people were there that were very good players. And like I didn't know that there was a Regalia player that was in top 8. Top 8 was Regalia, Brave, which was Brandon Smith, Gears, which I think was Robbie Cole, and then 5 Shiranui decks. So like, anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get on with the deck profile. All right, so we're gonna do my deck profile right now. I'm playing Dominate, and my starter was Stealth Dragon Burai. Stealth Dragon Burai is pre-GB, which is the main reason why I like his effect. He just like when you ride something with Dominate, he goes into Soul, and then he calls something from the drop, or you draw a card, then you call something from your opponent's drop zone, and then that gives Zanki a target to be dominated or to dominate, and then get +2 and swing at whatever you want. If you call it grade 2, swing at the Vanguard. Call it a grade 0, swing at the starter. Or if you just want to get rid of a pesky rear guard that has resist, Burai helps you get there. Alright. And we're gonna go start zeros and we're gonna go work our way up. So I played 6 crit, 4 of them being the Norais, which is the Persona crit, which I don't understand why they're so expensive, and 2 being the unflips. The unflips are great to use with things like Morishige because yeah, you're calling down a 10k, but you're getting back a resource which you could use for later. And these just help provide pressure and filter through your hand. Because this card is just a wash, pretty much. It gives you back a card, but you can use it for later, which is really great. A lot of the cards I use in this deck, I just use it to cycle. So we have 6 crit, and then we have 6 draw. 2 vanillas because they're 5k bases. This actually came in handy a lot more than somebody would think. I know most people are playing like the after image stand. I don't like the after image stand. I'm going to explain why real quick. You have to, 1, drop it from hand. That's fine. Then 2, you have to have less cards than your opponent, which sometimes isn't an issue if you decide to play very aggressive. But I like to play it to tempo, if that makes any sense. Like, depending on how my opponent is, like, I'm not just going to like go rush in. Like, if they're playing like Chaos Breaker or some other form of control, I'm not going to give them more resources. So I figured, dropping this card from my hand to draw a card, yeah, I'd rather just get the cards on damage because that provides more imaginary pressure because that's more unknown cards to my hand that my opponent doesn't know about. And of course him because, he's foil and he just gives +3k, so if I go into a Magen Tenbu turn or if I go into a Mugen Lord turn, you know, I can give them extra power. 4 heals, because heals are heals, and I like to G-guard, and I like to heal, and I like to dominate my opponent's rear guards. Next is a question, like a thing that I got asked about. Oh, you know, when do you use this? How often do you use this? You know, how do you resolve this? For Usui, he's the dominate perfect guard that cycles himself. Like if a dominated unit attack hits. So like if you're on GB1 or GB2 and you're about to go to GB3, they'll let normally the first dominated unit attack hits. And if these are in the drop zone, guess what? You just got a perfect guard back. As long as there's another copy of him in the drop zone, if the dominated unit attack hits, put one to the bottom, add the other to the hand. And like I resolved this at least like 4 or 5 times yesterday. So I'm keeping him in. Like the counter charge one, I've never really had issues with my counter charging. So I saw no real reason. I mean, you could realistically play the trial deck perfect guards and be fine because, like, yeah, well, I resolved it 4 or 5 times yesterday. Like, there are other times where I just don't resolve it at all and I'm still fine. Anyway, on to the next card. 4 Stride Enablers. Stride Enablers are Stride Enablers. This is a G deck. If you don't Stride or you don't have the right Shiranui in hand and you have the wrong grade 3, you can fix it. 3 Mistfrog. Ooh, baby. This thing is so good. It's like a booster for your opponent's dominated unit because you can't boost them normally, but this lets you do it. And he draws you a card. So he's pretty much a wash, but he's a good wash because he takes your opponent's 19k, 4k trigger that's swinging on your GB3 on Rin to a 25k, which most likely they're not going to want to take, or they're just going to have to. This card has ended out, like, all the games that I won, one of those 2 or 3 games that I won was because of Mistfrog. I really want to up the number up to 4, but... And then finally, 3 8K Vanillas. If anybody has the alternate art, or not the alternate art, but the original 8K Vanilla for Nubatama from BT13, hit me up. Anyway, 8K Vanilla. I like this. I like Vanillas because, actually, you know what? We're going to start off getting into our grade 2s as well. Because first grade 2, 10K Vanilla. These things are way more valuable than other people could think of. 8K Vanillas and 10K Vanillas, they either make your opponent miss hitting, or they make them have to drop more cards for a guaranteed hit, in which I can just drop a 10K and then I'm, you know, whatever. And you just gave me what? You gave me another dominate target. You gave me another target to swing at with dominated units. And I'm just putting down 1 card. If I wanted to rush, like this is or if these are on rear guard, 18k column. If I use the draw trigger, 21k column. Or if I'm on what you call it, blanking right now. If I'm on Mugen Lord, 22k column. Okay, or no, 26k column because he gives them both 4. So these things are way more valuable than people give them credit for. So anyway, yeah, that's what I have to say about the 8 and 10k vanillas. Next up, 4 Tamahagane Metsu. This card lets you play against gears. My opponent, my round 4 opponent was like, "Oh, you don't have anything bound." I'm like, "Yes, I do." Tamahagane Metsu binds you a card, and then when he sees a dominated unit attack swing, counterblast 1, gets plus 10k, gets a card face down from your bind zone, adds it to hand. He becomes a 19k. In front of a 8k vanilla, he's 27, or a 7k, he's 26. Either way, he at least drops 10. He drops 10 out of your opponent's hand, 10 to 20, like, which is way more than I can ask for a lot of cards. And our final, grade 2, Stealth Rogue of Liquidation Sadasugu. This thing is so great. I'm thinking about cutting him down to 3, mainly because, like, he rarely came up to where I actually used him. But he still is really good. Don't cut him out of the deck. I just want to, like, drop him to 3, maybe. I don't know what else I would add in instead of him. Maybe the grade 2 that drops your opponent's power to 11 and bumps up 2 of your rear guards up to 11. That is one thing that I know that I missed out of this deck. So if I do that, I'm not sure what I'm going to take out for it. Maybe a grade 3, who knows, because I like the rest of the grade 2 lineup. This is the only shaky one. Anyway, Sadasugu, when he sees a dominated unit attacks, you can counterblast, retire that unit, draw a card. And if you have a Shiranui Vanguard, this is not GB Break, this skill. If you have a Shiranui Vanguard and you swing, he gains 2k. Sucks that he's not just a permanent 2k like Sipla or some of the other ones that they have like that, but, you know, them's the breaks. And on to grade 3s. Of course, you guys know, for Zonky. Zonky, he is the reason why this deck is, well, one of the 2 reasons why this deck is just so terrifying. Because, one, when you ride, pick a unit, any unit. You can even give it to himself if your opponent's stuck on an 8k or something like that, or one of your rear guards. But if you chose one of your opponent's rear guards, dominate it, and then make it swing anywhere. This one is one of the swings that you don't have to. He gets that on ride and gets that on stride. So if you went second and you rode, dominate a unit, stride, dominate a unit. Often, like, I would ride this and I would have this out. I would use this first, draw me a card, call a card from their drop zone, then dominate it if they didn't have anything on board already, which is amazing. Anyway, and then his beginning of turn skill, again, not GB, Soul Blast 1. You draw a card, and then we both call a unit out from hand. So that's how 1 you rip out, and then Rin you rip out 2 more, which is just so beautiful. Anyway, it's just really nice. And then all the auto abilities of the card that your opponent called don't work. And then at the event, I was running 2 Shiranui Oboro. I got 1 SP. I may cut this one out and then just play 6 grade 3s. But 7 grade 3s actually did work pretty well. So if anybody has another full art SP, not the hot stamp, go ahead and swing that over my way. Anyway, what Shiranui does, Shiranui Oboro does, is at the beginning of your turn, you call a card from your opponent's drop zone, which is great. Gives you another dominate target. And then once you do that, once you stride, you go ahead and you dominate a unit, give it plus 4k, and it can swing anywhere. So if you dominated a 6k, you can swing at grade 2s or starters. You dominated a 9k, you know, you guys get the idea. It's a pretty good card. I don't think that it should be dropped whatsoever. It just sucks that these 2 have the same color scheme. And if you sit them on rear guards on opposite sides of each other, they're looking at each other. Like they're long lost brothers. Like, brother, hug me. Look at my ninja hand signs. Anyway, and then Morishige. I'm not saying that entirely long name. Act skill, you pay the cost by resting one of your rear guards, which normally for me is this, either one of the crit triggers, this, I think you guys get the idea, or a frog. Like, usually that's what it is for me, that I'll be resting with Morishige skill. Give my opponent's unit plus 3. I don't care. And then he gets plus 10k. So he's a 21k beater. I really wish he came foil. But, you know, whatever. It's not too complicated. Very simple. Very easy to do. Anybody, even a caveman can do it. So that's it for the main deck. Now we're going to go on to the strides. Of course, the main man, Shiranui Rin. He is a act skill, counterblast 1, persona flip, and then you call 2 cards out of your opponent's hand and they get plus 5. Normally your opponent calls just triggers or whatnot, but then, you know, that's why we have nice things like Frog. Frog does great. There's actually a grade 1 that I'm thinking about testing that gives your opponent's unit plus 3 for 1 Soul Blast, and if you have a grade 4 and it has Shiranui in its name, he gains plus 3 himself. So that'll take those 9k swings from triggers that your opponent called to 12k swings, which actually threaten the Vanguard. And then if you're on GB3, all your opponent's dominated unit, or all the dominated units get plus 10 in a crit, which is what really makes this scary, because on your first stride turn, if you go first, you can have that ability unlocked if you G-guarded the turn before, which is why I don't mind going first in this deck. Like, whatever, I get to dominate your units first, and then I get to G-guard, and then I get to swing for like at least 19k with a crit, or 25 if I have the frog out. So feel free, call out those triggers. You're losing 10k shields out of hand. That's fine with me. Next, 2 Mugen Lords. I decided to play 2 Mugen Lords because I didn't know if I was ever going to be in the situation where my opponent had at least 3 cards to make this actually worth. But there were a few situations where I did, but Ren was just better. So Ren, oh not Ren, I'm sorry, I love Ren. Mugen Lord is Counterblast 1, Persona Flip. For every card face up in your G zone, you choose to give a unit plus 4. A rear guard plus 4, I'm sorry, not a unit. And if you gave your opponent's units plus 4, you dominate that unit. If you have enough, you can give some of yours too. And here's a secret tip against Geese, which I expected to face. You can give your units plus 4s, so that way you can hopefully hit the 30k threshold, especially with Morishige. So that way you can provide some pressure, somewhat. And then you just dominate them and they all attack one by one at the same time, which is cool. Oh, interesting ruling about this card. When you dominate the 2 cards from your opponent's hand, 1, they lose all their auto abilities. 2, both of those units are yours until they both are done attacking. So that's a cool thing. Next, Murkrow. Murkrow is a great card. Like, he is for when I don't have Counterblast or my opponent has a really full board or a bunch of resist units that I just can't dominate. Soul Blast 2, Persona, or flip something up and then discard a card. Then I drive check 5 times. First, dominate the Vanguards, Twin Drive. Then and you can use any cost or abilities of the Vanguard. And then you go ahead and proceed over to your turn after you destroyed their rear guard. So I would stride this, dominate their thing, make it swing at the Vanguard, and then use his ability, because I'm never short on soul. Then use his ability and swing at all 5 of the rear guards, or 4. If you can't get at least 3, this is not worth it, in my opinion. So that's that. Next, Magen Tenbu. Magen Tenbu is really great for those first turn strides where you don't want to go to Mugen Lord. Not Mugen Lord, I'm sorry. Where you don't want to go into Ren. You don't want to Ren to win because your opponent has a really thick hand and you just want to get rid of something really quickly. So there's that. And then he's Counterblast 1, flip a copy of himself face up. I'm also looking to get these in SP. You flip himself face up, and then you pick a unit on your opponent's side of the board, and it gets +3 for every card face up in your G zone. And then at the end of that battle that dominated unit attacked, it retires. So that's cool. Get rid of some annoying units. Next, I ran the GB8. I've came into situations where I came close to wanting to use this. Like where there was like 2 games where I went past 2 Rens, and then after that, like this was a legit viable choice. But instead I just went into Mugen Lord or Magen Tenbu or Murkrow. But GB8 is whenever your opponent decides to put a card in Guardian Circle, so stride, dominate a unit. Do you want to guard? You're at 5, right? You have to guard. So when they put the card in Guardian Circle, they have to discard 2. So that includes perfect guards. It's not put a perfect guard down and then pay the cost. No, you have to put the perfect guard down, discard the 2, then you have to discard to pay for cost. Because this activates after I pay the cost for it. So that's a nifty little thing, just in case you guys run into somebody that's like, oh, I only have 3 cards in hand, perfect guard, and then they just decide to try to pay the perfect guard cost. No, you can't pay the perfect guard cost because you have to pay this first. Of course, 1 Drachma and Seabreeze. Seabreeze is still relevant, in my opinion. Also, thanks to Tyler for letting me use this for the event. I Drachma'd a total of 0 people. Well, 0 people. Anyway, But yeah, Seabreeze is still relevant. I killed someone on Seabreeze. I killed a gear player on Seabreeze and a Mega Colony on Seabreeze. So Seabreeze is still relevant when your opponent decides to play Great Stuff. I mean, he's going to go down in worth when Premium comes out in about 2 months. But still, he did very, very well. I enjoy this card so much. Next, Drachma, you know what he does. He just usually, like, my plan was to Ren to win, and if I don't Ren to win, go into Drachma. But I've always never had another Zonky in hand or Oboro in hand, so I just never got to use it. That's pretty much the end of that tale. And next up for the G-Guards, I don't know how to pronounce their names, so I'm just going to show them to you. The Dominate Perfect or G-Guard, which is amazing, except against resist units. And then the 41k shield one, self-explanatory. So, essentially, at this tournament, like, I saw a lot of great people. I had a lot of fun. I think some of the changes that I might make, again, with my grade 3s, I might just go down to 6, because, like, Morishige was helpful, but I think having the name is more important, so I might either turn this into an Oboro, or I'll just straight up just go to straight 6/3s, cut a Sadasuga, and turn it into a Usui. I think that's his name. The grade 2 that resets your opponent's Vanguard's power back to 11 and gives 2 of your rear guards power to 11. And I might trade in the 10k, not 10k, I'm sorry, the 8k grade 1 for that one grade 2 that I was talking about, because it came up more often than not that my opponents were just calling 4k triggers, and I needed that extra 3k because it would have been nice. So that's it for this deck profile and tournament report. No Limit Gaming, next time they have a 1k event, I'm definitely going. It's only 3 hours away, which isn't too bad. Special shout outs to Darren, my teammate, who made 3rd overall because top 8 decided to split. Shout out to Robbie Cole for getting me that second SP Mugen Lord, because I got basically ripped off by some shop that decided not to send the card out in time, or just not send the card out. And you know, Commander Jaime, let's see, who else? Pretty much everybody at my locals that helped me with the fine-tuning of this deck. I'm, again, like I said, I'm not sad about this deck. I'm not angry or anything like that. This was actually a really, really fun time that I had, and I'm proud of what I built and what I did. So, again, this is Black Guy Senpai. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.